I have been dancing with cancer since the age of 25. I have the personal experience of being diagnosed with and recovering from brain cancer. Based on the methods I used and continue to use to recover to health, I believe that the language people regularly use determines the outcome of their life. To elaborate, I deliberately and repeatedly write down and read aloud specific affirmative statements in first-person present tense for the purpose of programming my mind and body to maintain a high level of health. I was told by my doctors and the mainstream scientific media that there is no way to heal from cancer, yet I have done exactly that. I attribute the primary reason for my recovery to writing and reading these statements every day. The most powerful example I read aloud every day is, "I am already healed." In this essay, I explore the potential of repetitive self-talk or autosuggestion and how people can deliberately use it on themselves to engineer their own behavior, and how the same tactics are used by propagandists to try to engineer our behavior from the outside. The methods which I use for my ongoing recovery from cancer do not follow any predetermined structure, but can be looked at through the lens of various linguistic frameworks, especially neuro-linguistic programming, abbreviated as NLP, and linguistic determinism, and the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis and universal grammar theory. What exactly does the term NLP signify, and how does it work? Knowles asserts that NLP is a broad term which refers to a variety of different but related concepts derived from linguistics, psychology, kinetics, and cybernetics. Arnold states that NLP is matching language with thinking processes. Specifically, NLP is an approach to communication, personal development, and behavioral change developed in the 1970s by Richard Bandler and John Grinder, and is rooted in the idea that our thoughts, language, and behaviors are interconnected and can be optimized for engineering human action. NLP is one linguistic framework which supports my claim that the language people regularly use determines the outcome of their life. NLP can be directly connected to the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, a linguistic theory proposed by Edward Sapir and his student Benjamin Lee Whorf. The hypothesis acknowledges that different languages may predispose their speakers to distinct cognitive patterns, encapsulating the idea that language plays a crucial role in shaping human cognition, and that the structure and nuances of language can impact how individuals conceptualize and experience the world around them. Linguistic relativism and linguistic determinism are two perspectives based on this hypothesis. Linguistic relativism suggests that language influences the way individuals think and perceive the world, but it does not assert a strict determinism, allowing for variability in individual cognitive processes. Linguistic determinism, on the other hand, proposes that language rigidly determines thought and shapes cognitive processes. Taken to its extreme, linguistic determinism can be described as you become what you say. Linguistic determinism, along with NLP, is support my claim that the language people regularly use determines the outcome of their life. People become not only what they say, but also what they hear, read, and write. As Gleitman and Papafragou state, writing is transformative because it enables the revision of language and precision in framing and modifying thoughts before expression. Writing has major implications within linguistic determinism and NLP because people can use writing to engineer statements which describes an exact situation which they want to occur, or a changed habit they wish to perform. If the language people regularly use determines the outcome of their life, and writing is a technology which allows that language to be made precise, writing is a vital tool for changing human behavior. When I was first diagnosed with cancer, I wrote down statements which I continued to hone until they felt most effective. I evolved my statements from negative to affirmative and from passive to active. For example, "Cancer cannot affect me" became "I am unaffected by cancer." After many iterations, it became "I am already healed and I am always healing." Without the ability to write, it would be difficult to increase the efficacy of statements which bring more subjective clarity to the writer-speaker and also more objective grammatical accuracy. I believe that linguistic determinism is at the core of human action, and our words and what they represent determine the outcome of our lives. Revisiting the previous paragraph, what people say, hear, write, and read are the scaffoldings which determine their behavior. However, I believe that the visualizations which arise from the physical linguistic properties are more important as factors which drive us to action. For example, the signifier "I am going to the gym every day," whether written or spoken, will drive us to action according to linguistic determinism. However, the signified idea that exists in the person mind, the image of them in the gym, has more potency in driving the speaker into that specific behavior. While many people discredit these ideas, Cornet Murtada states that high performers such as athletes have known for decades that visualization enhances that which occupies our thoughts, tends to become our reality. Athletes who are paid millions, sometimes billions of dollars, and have audiences up to the same number are the foundation of many aspects of society. The Super Bowl, FIFA, the NHL are a few examples of institutions in which the highest performers are known to use visualization as a means to achieve elite performance, as stated by Cornet Murtada. This suggests that some of the mostly highly revered people in our societies are using language, that which occupies our thoughts, and visualization deliberately as a mean to keep us, the audience, captivated by their high performance. What I am struggling to say in this paragraph is that the imagined or visualized act, which comes as a result of crafting a written or spoken statement, is the more powerful factor changing an individual's behavior. The linguistics units which we repeat to ourselves repetitively may be described as autosuggestions. Indeed, NLP and linguistic determinism imply that what we say to ourselves regularly determines our behavior. However, the words which a person hears and reads on a consistent basis are not only their own. Unless we live as a monk in a cave, we are constantly bombarded with a stream of information from the world around us which influence our actions. Edward Bernays, in his seminal book Propaganda, describes the ways in which people use methods, which can be explained by linguistic determinism, to control human behavior. A quote from page 38 of his book states directly that we are governed, our minds molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of, suggesting that people do not have control over their own behavior. If we accept this as true, people can assume that our actions are not determined by ourselves and we are not too different from robot slaves. In order to get away from this form of mental slavery being thrust on us by propagandists, we must be competing with external media by using our own auto-suggestions. If propaganda is the deliberate use of repetitive language to influence others, it is essentially assuming that linguistic determinism is true. I suggest that propaganda is like auto-suggestion, and whatever we hear enough times will eventually be believed by the listener-reader to be the truth. Changing the topic slightly, I must explain that I believe the grammatical structure of autosuggestions and propaganda are focal to their success. To investigate this, we can examine linguist Noam Chomsky's universal grammar theory, abbreviated as UGT. While not universally accepted as scientific fact, UGT theorizes that our minds are hardwired with a mental template for learning grammar. In Chomsky's linguistic contributions to the study of mind, he asserts that people who learn language have an internalized system of rules that relate to sound and meaning in a particular way, suggesting that there may be a specific way which grammar can be used, maximize the impact of autosuggestion and propaganda. I believe that the grammatical structure which should be used to maximize the efficacy of autosuggestion is first person, present tense, affirmative case. For example, in the variety of the following phrases, I will not succeed, I might succeed, I could succeed, I would succeed, I should succeed, I can succeed, I may succeed, I will succeed, I am succeeding, I always succeed, I have already succeeded. Which of them is the most affirmative? Even if we assume that linguistic determinism were completely false, the grammatical structure of I am succeeding is objectively more affirmative than I could succeed. The former is an affirmative present case, while the latter is a potential case. In the context of outward-reaching propaganda, pronouns can be switched from I to you, such as you can afford it, or into questions such as, do you want to make your woman feel special, to induce a reaction in the reader-listener. I can't help but think of what may be the biggest propaganda machine on the planet, the American military, and how many people they recruited to their glory or death with their Uncle Sam poster, I want you for us army. I have discussed NLP, linguistic determinism, and UGT in relation to autosuggestion and propaganda. I believe that the repetition of linguistic units, spoken, written, read, heard, and visualized, and their specific grammatical structure can be deliberately programmed to determine human behavior. But is the world so simple that repeating affirmative autosuggestions in the mirror or absorbing advertisements on the radio, TV, and social media will be the factors which determine the outcome of a person's life? I believe that another very important factor which regulates how autosuggestions and propaganda determine behavior is how alert or relaxed a person is when receiving or affirming information. I argued in a previous paragraph that athletes being users of visualization methods for success are a huge impact on our society. But how does this work? Cornet Murtada, in their article on hypnotherapy, suggests that concentration on an imagined scene and the relaxation of both the physical body and the mind allow the subconscious mind to assimilate suggestions. This implies that deliberately entering a state of relaxation before using autosuggestion or visualization can increase the likelihood that said methods will determine the outcome of a person's behavior. Cornet Murtada continues by saying that people naturally enter a state of hypnosis several times a day, which indicates that people are unconscious of how regularly and easily we may be being manipulated by propaganda. Whether we like it or not, we are highly suggestible to the language we absorb both consciously and unconsciously. So why not deliberately engineer the language we encounter to improve our lives in the direction of whatever we think is better? When the tumor in my brain was the size of a chestnut, I wrote down and repeated 10 affirmations every day for 30 days. And I especially did it when I write after waking up and right before sleeping, when I knew my brain was in a suggestible state. Soon, I had the affirmations / auto-suggestions memorized and repeated them aloud to myself as I walked around. I even photocopied extras and taped them all over my room. I am only a sample size of one. Therefore, my personal experience cannot objectively prove to others that radical linguistic determinism is true, or that language is the matrix of reality. However, I only occupy my own mind, and I believe that radical linguistic determinism is true. Therefore, based on my own theory, to me, it is objective reality. Most people would agree with Kielstrom and say that I am an individual who is highly hypnotizable, who experiences alterations in consciousness which are associated with subjective conviction bordering on delusion. While it is obvious that the introduction of linguistic information can significantly impact individuals' behavior, as stated by Gleitman and Papafragou, it is not objectively obvious that language is the fundamental matrix of reality. In conclusion, my recovery from brain cancer has deeply rooted my belief in the transformative influence of language on our lives. Despite being told by doctors and mainstream media that healing from cancer was implausible, I defied expectations through the intentional use of language, particularly repetitive self-talk. The practice of writing and reciting affirmative statements daily, like "I am already healed," became a cornerstone of my recovery. This form of autosuggestion not only played a crucial role in my physical healing, but also molded my mindset and overall well-being. This personal methodology prompts reflection on the potential of repetitive self-talk as a tool for self-engineering, challenging conventional medical wisdom. Examining these recovery methods through linguistic frameworks, such as neuro-linguistic programming and the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, highlights the intricate relationship between language and the human experience. In essence, my journey underscores the power of linguistic self-programming, encouraging a re-evaluation of language's role in shaping our realities. By recognizing the influence of our words, we open doors to self-empowerment and resilience, showcasing that intentional language use can shape the trajectory of our lives.